This video was originally going to be how I picked up the software Blender after not touching it in years, how I picked up and learned how to use it again in just 1 week. I did okay. Here's some of the progress I did. I never ended up recording it because by the time I wanted to make the video, I was already 4 days in, and I was like, wow, people are gonna think that I'm faking it. And this is gonna sound egotistical. People are gonna think that I'm faking it because I'm already like okay at it. I'm like okay at it. So I didn't want people to think that I was, not starting from nothing, which in my head I was. But that kind of brought up an idea in my head where it's like, wow, okay, I do want to make a video where I get good at something within a week, but I don't know what to do. I'm not saying that I'm good at everything. I'm just saying, I practice guitar frequently. I practice piano semi-frequently. I just have an addiction to picking up hobbies. I've tried damn near everything. I'd say the only things I haven't done are probably making like fucking paper cranes and like blacksmithing because I don't have the money to get into that. Although I want to, that sounds fun. So the idea for this video originally was learning 4 skills in 4 weeks. But I wanted to talk some more. I wanted to talk about why it is so important for people to pick up as many hobbies as they can. You probably know about the phrase jack of all trades, master of none, and that's probably what I would consider myself. I'd say I definitely have a laser focus on video editing. There was points in my life a few years back where I would dream about editing videos because that was like the only thing going through my mind consistently. I would have days where I would upload a video and then follow that up by editing 6 for another person, or editing a video for myself, then 2 videos for my film club that I was running at the time, and then trying to get money on the side by doing editing. That was my one thing. So if there is a hobby that I do, it is film and like video editing and stuff like that. But I've also in the past few months I've picked up reading. Those are some of the books that let me grab some of them. This first one's a returning character. I made a video about this book already. It is The 4 Agreements, a Toltec wisdom book, which I covered semi-thoroughly in a previous video. This is a very interesting book that I haven't finished yet called Blood Meridian. It is about scalpers after like post-Spanish or like pre-Civil War America. There are a whole bunch of like scalpers that are trying to get money by just like killing Mexicans. It's a very fucked up book. It's a very, very, very messed up book. But it's kind of good. It's good. I was put onto it from like a Wendigoon video that was talking a lot about that book. It's a fucking 5-hour long video. So I was like, okay, the video's 5 hours long. I might as well just get the book and, read it for myself. This is Outliers. It's a good one. Malcolm Gladwell. Apparently he's very prolific, apparently. The one thing I remember from Outliers is just talking about like you could become successful if you're just in the right place at the right time, because if you were born in this, let's say you're like a hockey player. You want to become the best hockey player. You're going to be way more likely to become a extremely good hockey player in Canada if you were born in the months January, February, March, because they start picking players for like big teams in January, the first day of the year. That's when they start. So if you were born in a month like December, you would have the lowest chance statistically. And as much as you'd want to become like a good hockey player, you are literally at a disadvantage from the start because you were born 1 month early. So everybody born a month later than you kind of has, or everybody born in January, February, March has multiple months on you in the developmental stage of like growth that you just don't get because you started a year late. So it's a very interesting book. It talks about just how important it is to understand the things you have in order to be successful, and like how success has a lot more factors than just hard work. I thought it was very good. This is a one I already read this book before I got the actual copy of it. This is Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. He was a Roman emperor who, to my knowledge, was one of the only like well-rounded good people. He was a Stoic person. This is a Stoic philosophy book. This is kind of like his diary. So he would just write like, my dad taught me this, my mom taught me this, I learned this from somebody, the universe or the stars and stuff like that. It's just kind of like his wisdom, throughout most of his life. And despite it being like his whole diary, it's actually pretty small read, all things considered. I read it in about 2 days. But those are the books books I read. So, I mean, I can't really do that. I mean, like, what can I do? You know, I want to learn more. That sounds nerdy as fuck. Like, my philosophical standpoint on this is I was put into this world and I only have a limited amount of time to experience it, just like everyone else. Why would I blind myself to certain avenues? You know, why wouldn't I try just everything? I'm not going to force my philosophy onto you, but I would say that it's only beneficial to you if you pick up hobbies. You know, pick up a fuck ton of them. Pick up so many hobbies. You know, you don't have to do it all at once, but I mean, when I was 15, 16, I was scared of using Blender because it looked super imposing and it looked super scary. What do all these buttons mean? What does this do? What does that do? And now I know how to use it and I can talk to somebody about how I learned it and I become a slightly more interesting person. And that's not what the goal is. The goal isn't to become like, you know, like a better conversationalist, like someone who's able to talk to someone better. The goal in learning all these hobbies is to see just what I like, because there is a structure in America. At least there is a structure where you, after you're done with high school, you will either not do education further or you will go into education and you will pick a major, and your jobs from there on out will probably be centered around the major you picked for a majority of your life, a long part of it, if you don't switch. That's just what happens on average. So I think it's in my best interest to figure out what I like the most and then do that, because, and that sounds so simple when I say it like that, but there's some nuance to it. Like when I was really young, I wanted to become a woodworker because that's what made my dad happy, and I made some tables when I was young. I did a little bit of woodworking and I still find it fun, but I definitely wouldn't want to do that for 8 hours a day, you know? And if I just had that dead set thought process of, okay, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life, I would probably get burnt out, you know? And I bet that's happened to multiple people before. Like kids when they're a young age, they get told by their parents, you need to become a doctor. This is the one thing you need to do. You should become a doctor, or you should become a lawyer, or you need to become like a pediatrician or some shit like that. And then that's their goal. They were given that one goal in life and that's what they do. And suddenly you're not happy, you know? And I don't really, you know, fear getting into the workforce more than I just fear getting into the workforce and finding out, oh no, I picked the wrong thing. I picked the wrong thing. Not only is this job not fun, but it's not fun and it doesn't pay well. That's a big fear, you know? I would say that's like the only concern, the only real concern kids my age probably have that has any kind of like weight to it on average. I'm not going to speak for everybody here, but I will say picking up hobbies is such a nice thing to do because it just makes you so much more interesting. I know people, and I'm not going to name names because they know who they are, but I know people whose only hobbies are watching shows or video games. Your hobby is video games, okay? What video games do you like? I like Fortnite. And to think, you know, like, I sound like fucking Jaden Smith right now. I sound like, why don't we just talk about the economic state of the fucking world right now? I just want to talk to someone about a niche fucking program that took me a week to learn, like Blender. Like, is that so much to ask? Well, last year, I don't want to kind of like age jump, but I am 17, so last year I would have been in my sophomore year. Why am I saying it like that? Last year I was in my sophomore year, and I decided to make a club called Film Club to specifically find people who were interested in what I'm interested in, and it went, you know, pretty well for the most part, and I found a lot of people who were interested in film, a lot of creative people, and I wouldn't have known, you know, if I actually, you know, like started, you know, doing it. Yeah, that's kind of like off the topic of hobbies, but the reason why I sit in this room and I just, you know, play the guitar, or I stream, or I, you know, read instead of like doing stupid shit like just watching a show or like playing video games, is just because of that want to be good at something, or that wants to find what I, you know, click with. I want to find something that I really extremely like resonate with. And I know what I like, and I probably wouldn't have known what I liked if I didn't do that. That's why I think hobbies get them. You know, it must suck to not have hobbies, because that's like not having interests, you know? Hobbies are your interests. Hobbies are like, you know, like very interesting things in of itself, you know? Your hobby is instruments, your hobby is music. I mean, at like points in times, like I like playing instruments, you know? I guess I would consider that a hobby. It just, you know, if I talk to somebody who just doesn't have any hobbies, what would I even talk to them about? Somebody with no interests, they're not interesting, you know? And like I said, again, you know, there is this surface level want. There is this surface level desire to to be interesting. People like other people that are interesting. You know, it's just what everybody wants. Like the ideal role model for a man is definitely somebody who has like an interesting life, or at the very least a good life, you know? And that's a whole fucking another video. We can define what good is sometime soon, maybe on stream. But interesting people are just, you know, so interesting, you know? People who actually put time into hobbies, I have nothing but like full on respect for them. They tick away with their free time and they use it to get better at a skill for the purpose of either fun or just curiosity. Either or, you know? I think that I don't want to get like too philosophical. This is a pretty philosophical video already. I think the thumbnail's dead ass just gonna be me like some shit like that. But I think hobbies are like an example of like true living. You know, hobbies would make a boring life into an interesting one. If you just have like a job, you know, and you're clocking in, you're clocking out, you're doing that every single day for your whole life, and you haven't even like decided like, okay, what are my interests? You know, I'm just going to this job every single day. What are my interests? What are my goals beyond this job? You know, like the obvious answer is, you know, what if I just pick up a hobby? You know, what if I just start, you know, like what if I just start working out recreationally, or what if I just start, you know, playing the guitar every now and then? What if I start reading? You know, and suddenly this person who was probably depressed because they were working, you know, nonstop, finds an outlet to, you know, be creative. That's the important part. Maybe it's my outlook as a person, but I personally could never do a job that doesn't require some kind of creativity. I couldn't do it. I would sooner be homeless. I would sooner have no job. Because if you don't have a job that requires at the most basic form of creativity, then, you know, it's not going to be interesting, you know? And I get like there's monetary incentive to working. I'm not saying that like money's not important here, because it very much is. You need to pick a job that gives you good like a good amount of money yearly, or like a job that gives you a good, you know, amount of money just in general. But nobody would be happy doing a job that's just like, I've never met a person who just like has an office job where they're like a fucking like accountant, or they manage spreadsheets and they're like, oh my god, this is my dream job. I've never met a person like that. I don't know, maybe I am just speaking for myself and the people I know. Again, maybe there's somebody who's watching this video who is 100% on board with the idea of sitting in front of a computer their whole life. I mean, as much as I like editing videos, I also don't like sitting in front of a computer my whole life, you know? It's not fun. It's fun to make videos. It's just not fun to, you know, sit in front of a computer forever. Hobbies. Now, like, if you wanted to like become a really interesting person really quick, I know this sounds like really boring and really interesting. Just pick up like a book, you know, pick up a fucking book, you know. There are some people that I go to school with. I'm not gonna like name their names. There are some people that I go to school with that will just refuse to do anything, you know, remotely intelligent at all, because they think it like, you know, it hurts their, you know, image as a man. And when I say this, I mean this, like, you know, that the people that I know do this, you know, people that I know will just refuse to do any schoolwork, refuse to live any kind of interesting life, refuse to do anything, because they are so focused on this they're so focused on this idea of like male role models that they are like doing drop shipping and shit, you know, like getting their parents to like give them their social security number so they can start a fucking, you know, Shopify account before they're 18. The answer, I know that I'm young, but I know the answer is not fucking drop shipping. You're not going to be happy with just money. You're going to be happy with substance in your life. And you get that substance from actually being alive and actively listening to people and actively doing things like picking up hobbies. I feel bad for, you know, the younger teenagers, like 14, 15-year-olds that are like getting on this train that's heading straight towards like this idea of being a emotionless man, the idea of prioritizing money over everything, and the idea that you will only be successful when you get money. And I've never heard of a single, I would say, intelligent person that has defined success by how much money they have. I've always heard throughout every single book I've read, throughout like from every single like smart person I've heard from, it's always been your success is defined by your failure. Your success is defined by the amount of like work you've done. Your success is defined usually never by the results, usually by yourself. You yourself define success, and that's always from the experience of getting there. That sounds wordy, and that's because it is. But let's say as a channel right now, my goal right now is to hit 1,000 subscribers, which I'm totally capable of doing it. It's been so difficult to, you know what I'm saying? If I hit 1,000 subscribers, I personally wouldn't say to myself, I'm proud of myself for hitting 1,000 subscribers. I wouldn't say that. I would probably say something along the lines of, I'm proud that I worked this hard. You know, I'm proud that I put the effort in. Because it wasn't the want to get 1,000 subscribers that got me 1,000 subscribers. It was the want and the determination to put in the work that got me 1,000 subscribers. The goal was to work more. That was the goal. The result was 1,000 subscribers. Your goal is to become better at whatever, you know, avenue you choose, and whatever actual goal you set is just the byproduct. That is what's gonna happen. It kind of reminds me of this book I read. I don't have it right now, but it's a book in my room called Atomic Habits by I forgot who. He just kind of talked about, you know, instead of saying that I'm going to read X amount of books a month, or I'm going to get $1,000 dollars a week or something, it was always just, I'm going to read a little more than I did yesterday, or I'm going to be 1% better than I was yesterday. And that kind of resonated with me a bit, you know. I really like how that sounded, you know. I really liked how it's so simple to make a 1% improvement, yet it's such a large step in success every single time you do it. It compounds, you know. You're 1% better every single day. You'll be exponentially better, you know, within a year or two. You'll be unrecognizable, you know. So there are ways to become like better as a person. There are ways to become more interesting. You can read more. You can pick up more hobbies, like this video has been about. And that's what I've been doing, you know. That's what I've been doing. I picked up this program called Cavalry. It's a free version of, I think it's like Adobe Premiere or something like that. And the free version is perfectly fine. I like putting graphics into some of the videos that I do now. I've been getting into writing more. I've been, you know, focusing on a lot of stuff. I've been reading more, you know. And yeah, I'd say I'm a lot better as a person than I was like a year ago, you know. Even though I look similar. I don't look similar. I'm a lot skinnier now. My face hasn't gotten skinnier, which is kind of unfortunate, but I digress. So yeah, this video was literally just me talking to the camera for 24 minutes. Success is only quantifiable by the action you put in. Success is very misinterpreted by people because I think they're just so focused on seeing results with numbers, and they forget to, you know, take into like consideration the work that they did to get there. And I think if more people did that, there'd be a lot more smart and intelligent people in this world. I'd say if people prioritized, learning over actually like, okay, I'm not ending this video. I need to talk about this. If people prioritize the action of learning over wanting to get, like, let's say good grades, like let's say you're in high school and you are just shooting for like a 4.0 GPA, you know, you're going to take shortcuts to make your life easier to get that grade. You're not, let's be real, you're not going to absorb all the knowledge. And if you do, you're not going to remember it. I would say be focused more on the learning than the actual grade, because that's just a letter. It's a letter. Unless you're trying to go to like a high esteemed college, you know, they'll take your fucking 3.0. Most colleges will. No one cares. Stop focusing on the grades, you know, and actually live a good life. You know, you're hurting yourself by doing that. Focus more on the learning. You'll become more likable. And I would say for books, I saw a video about this. It was like, pick up some damn fiction, you know? You don't have to read like all these improvement books if you want to become like a better person, you know? You pick up like Blood Meridian, you know? This is a fiction book and it's fucked up, but the philosophy behind it is actually incredibly interesting. It's really weird how the characters are developed, and it's an extremely well put together book, you know? And I think if someone reads this, you know, this is the book that would get you interested in books. I know it sounds like people think it's stupid to just for like 2 or 3 hours a day, but I don't see it like that. I see it as like you're absorbing information a lot more directly than if someone was just telling you something, you know? That's how I tend to, you know, learn, you know? I'm able to read instructions way better than, you know, anybody actually telling me something. I'm able to read instructions a little bit better than somebody showing me how to do something, you know? So that definitely helped in my favor. But yeah, when it comes to all aspects in life, you know, it's always the interesting person. It's always the person with something to say. It's always the person with at least one thought in, you know, his or hers mind that is the preferred one, like the preferred individual in any situation. You're not gonna be the most successful person in your own aspect, like in your own right. You're not gonna be the most successful if you just toil all day and you don't do anything of note and you don't have anything of substance in your life. I need to separate myself from people who have no substance in their life. This video is kind of a PSA to myself. Maybe just focus on what's important, and it's not grades. That's not what is important. Maybe it is for you. It's not for me. Stop focusing on people who aren't, you know, focused on themselves. You know, stop, you know, investing time in people who won't, you know, reciprocate. And yeah, that's about it. Okay, I'm gonna edit this video now. I don't know if I'm gonna upload this. This is kind of a fucking this is like a therapy session. This is kind of what like most YouTube videos I get recommended now are. I get recommended videos that are literally just talking to the camera about what fucking pisses them off or what, you know, angers them. And it's so mopey. You know, why don't you like watch a video about like how to be fucking happy? You loser. That was mean. I shouldn't have said that. But maybe I'll use this for a video. I might fucking make this a second channel video. I need to get this out. I need to work on something. I need to do something. All right. That's enough for today. I'll see you guys later.